everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we have a super big one. It is the UCS 2008 Death Star. This thing dwarfs me as I'm sitting in this chair. It was massive. For those of you who don't know, I actually got this Death Star used from a seller. It had all of the minifigures that you see here, so all of them were complete. But some pieces were missing. There was some things that had fallen off. Structurally, it was mostly fine, but again, there was a couple things wrong. It just ended up where I had to take apart the entire thing, sort the colors, and then figure out what I was missing. The whole process took like a whole week, including rebuilding, and I would tell you, I never want to do this again. I never want to have to rebuild a set that is almost 4,000 pieces from 10 trillion different baggies. Definitely having the numbered bags is a helpful addition in this instance, but I couldn't do that. I just had to sort the pieces and what made sense to me and then sort them by colors. So I mean, every step I was having to look through like 3, 4, 5 different bags to get all my pieces, and that just literally repeated like 400 times. So anyways, it took forever. I'm so glad that it's finally together. I can't tell you that I enjoyed the building process whatsoever. So anyways, that being said, let's go ahead and I'll give you some specs on this. We'll take a look at the box, and then we'll get into the minifigures following, and then the set, of course. There's a lot to cover. I'm super excited to show you guys. Really like this set, so let's get right into it. Okay, so this set is just called Death Star. It is set 10188, later released as a 7.5 set when they did the 2016 update. It is from 2008 with 3,803 pieces, so just a little shy of that 4,000. Comes with 24 minifigures and originally retailed for $399. Nowadays, if you want to get it used, it's about $507, and new in box, $678. So that variance between used and new in box is actually really small. I paid $250 for this set, which I think is a steal. It had all the minifigures. The only things I had to buy were a couple of pieces. It ended up being like $37, so it's closer to $300, which is still cheaper than the original retail price. I do remember seeing this at my Lego store way back in the day, and just thinking that that was like definitely a set I was never going to own. I never planned on owning it, obviously, until it came up. And so I'm just really excited. I now have all of the large-scale playsets, the Master Builder series and the UCS. I wanted that, but it wasn't like a goal I was working towards. It just happened to be. So anyways, super cool there. Okay, so let's get into these minifigures first. Okay, so before we start, I did want to note that this Death Star came with a mid-release update. So in the middle of the release period that this Death Star had, they updated the minifigures to have pupils inside the eyes. And so some people have the updated version where some of the characters have pupils and some of them still don't. And then there is the original version where they all have solid color pupils. I wanted to state this is the version with solid color pupils, which makes this one of the earlier releases of this original Death Star. I personally really like the pupilless circle dark eyes. I think that they're really cute personally, but there is some inconsistencies. As we go, you will see some of them have really large pupils and other ones have really, really tiny ones. So anyways, I just wanted to note that. We will start with the Imperials first. We have Grand Moff Tarkin here, and he has the really large eye pupils. They have obviously done an updated version of like every single character, so I won't continue to restate it, but here is this Tarkin. And for the time, he looked really good. I think that his printing is nice. No back printing, of course, but the front printing looks really good. And this was our very first Tarkin, in my understanding. Moving on to Darth Vader, and it is the classic helmeted Darth Vader, but the torso is really detailed, and this would have been one of the most detailed Darth Vader torsos for its time, for sure. He does have a printing on his face, which all of the Darth Vaders did, but this one's printing. And then the heavily starched fabric cape. We have Darth Sidious, or Emperor Palpatine, here with his gray face, and he technically does have pupils because he has yellow eyes. Just a thought. And he comes with his lightning bolts and heavily starched cape and a cloak. That's it for him. One of the few exclusive figures we get, this is the Assassin Droid, and that's its name. It is a white IG-88, and I think personally that it's really lame. I don't know what purpose an Assassin Droid serves on the Death Star, but here he is. I also am really bothered by the fact that they gave him a black neck clip. Like, why could they have not made that piece in white, and it would have made the figure look better. We have a mouse droid, and what Death Star is complete without a mouse droid? None. That's it, though. There's nothing to write home about this figure. It's very simple. We have 2 Imperial troopers. They literally are the exact same with the large eyes and then the weird little helmets and then the black. I mean, it's pretty standard. It's nice to get more, though, for army building, but you do get 2 of those. My least favorite minifigure, or figure, if you want to call that, character, is the Assassin, or the Interrogation Droid. This is the old one with the nondescript screwdriver. That's how it's basically laid out in Bricklink, which is funny. And they use a gray pole. This thing should be, like, levitating, so the pole is really weird to me that they made it gray. They had clear, translucent poles back then, so I don't know why we got it on a gray pole, but there it is. This is R2Q5, an Imperial Astromech Droid, which looks really nice. I always like getting different Astromechs, so really glad to add this one to the collection. Nothing crazy, though. Here we have a black Protocol Droid, and its name is literally just Protocol Droid, which I think is sad. I don't know why they didn't name this thing, but he is black. He's kind of hard to see because of how dark he is, and they didn't do any highlighting prints, really. The only thing they have is the torso, which was standard for back then, but nice to get another Protocol Droid nonetheless. We have 2 Royal Guards, and they look nice, just really standard. The older ones had the solid red arms as well, rather than the dark red arms. And then they have starch capes and staffs. We get 2 of them. And then to finish out the Imperials, we get 2 standard stormtroopers with black heads underneath. These are the dotted mask type, which is how Bricklink describes them. But you get 2 of them, and they're nice. You also do get 2 more helmets for Han and Luke that are actually in the Death Star. And this isn't a figure, but it's like a little trolley, and I didn't know where else to include it in this video. It opens up, and you have like a classic blaster and like a little printed tile. I guess you could put it anywhere in the Death Star, but it's kind of a weird build that they just included it and they didn't give any information on it, but you do get this too. Alright, here's Leia, and she has tiny eyes. I think that's really funny, but pretty standard again for the time. They literally just made this character from yellow to nougat skin, and they didn't do any updates to her. I personally think this hairpiece goes way too low on her forehead. It debate, this is a simple figure, but it's nice to have a Leia. And then we have Han Solo, and he really bothers me because I don't know why he's wearing brown pants. In A New Hope, he should be wearing blue pants. That is something they corrected for the 2016 version, and it's just like kind of went under the radar with this one. Even in the update, the mid-release update, they still kept him with brown pants, and it really, really bugs me. He should have blue pants if we're going to be accurate. But I also don't change things in my sets, so he's got to be stuck there with inaccurate pants because that's what came with this set. Anyways, the dilemma, I don't like him for this reason. And then we have Stormtrooper Han Solo and Pardon, but this one is rough. Literally, the figure has been played with, it looks like. I don't know if they ended up just replacing the Stormtrooper torso, but this one's kind of old. Like I said, I got it secondhand, so it is what it is. Then we get 3 versions of Luke in this Death Star. This one is from Episode 6, obviously. He's Jedi Knight Luke with the robotic hand and green lightsaber. Stormtrooper disguise Luke, which is the same as Han, just with the Luke head on top. Then we have Farm Boy Luke, of course, which is like the most released Luke Skywalker figure ever. Ever. Then we get a standard Chewbacca. He comes with a silver bowcaster and some handcuffs. But, yep, same Chewbacca that we always get in that reddish brown. Here is R2-D2. This one is the gray, flat gray dome. And then, of course, no printing on the back. And then C-3PO, which has virtually no printing other than on the torso. And again, he's one of those that they just changed the color from the vintage sets to the new, what would be considered at the time, new sets. And they did no update on C-3PO, so that's him. And then finally, we have Ben Kenobi, and he looks like he has taken drugs because his eye pupils are so large. But this one is the hooded, caped Obi-Wan, and from Bricklink, what I could tell, this is actually the most expensive figure, which surprised me. And he comes with a blue lightsaber. This one looks to be bubbleless. That's pretty impressive. Oh, there's one down by the hilt. Never mind. Anyways, that wraps up the minifigures. Huge selection, which is super awesome, but they've all been updated since, so their value is not very high whatsoever, but it's fun. You can fill out the Death Star with them, as we'll see here in just a minute. Okay, so here we are with the Death Star, and this thing is just really large. I'm kind of going to have to be beside it as we go over it, but we have 3 main levels with kind of a basement-esque area, and then on each level we have like 4 different scenes. So this Death Star covers Episode 4 as well as Episode 6, as accurately, I suppose, as it can, with lots and lots of play features packed in. It was, yeah, overall, it's very visually interesting. I wouldn't say that it is visually the most compelling set ever. I think that if they were to redo this in today's time, they could have made it look better, but that is just something that tends to come with, you know, as we go on, you know, age-wise, Lego matures, they find new pieces, new techniques, stuff like that. I will say the strangest part about this build is that there is virtually no Technic in here, and for such a large, and this is actually quite a heavy build, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is like 10, 15 pounds. For such a heavy build, there's no Technic. It's all brick built and plate built, and the technique works well. I mean, everything is sturdy, but I definitely think that we'll see wear and tear over the years as this goes on. Now, with this being an original 2008 set, I did have some pieces break. I had that dark red, and then the reddish brown break, which is to be expected for the time. But other than that, everything else held up really, really well, even though this was mostly assembled when I got it, which I think is a testament to the design of this and the structural integrity, being able to last for years while it's built. And so I don't have a huge concern, but I do have an underlying concern because there is no Technic in here, so it has no like core strength. It just is built on bricks and plates and stuff. And I don't think that Lego would ever attempt to do something like this nowadays, but alas, here we are. So I guess it will be easier. I think we should just work our way from the bottom to the top. Starting here at the basement, we have just a couple of little details, nothing super special. This is mainly just to serve as the base of the Death Star. And then of course the opening for the trench for Leia and Luke to jump across. But other than that, that's pretty much it. Moving up to the second level, we have, again, that trench that you see, a couple of builds on the top of the roof, as well as this little structure that does nothing. It's just to signify that this is an open space, but to keep the round silhouette of the Death Star. We have this string that Luke and Leia can use to swing across, as well as a couple of platforms to put stormtroopers for them to be shooting at. And of course, you can see the elevator going down. And so that is pretty cool. On this next side, we have the tractor beam, and we have a function that if you pull out this little section here, it allows the tractor beam to disengage, which is Obi-Wan's task. We don't have anything else going on in this room except for the door to the trash compactor, which I will show you. Taking a look at the trash compactor here, and it is all brown, mostly brown and black, and very hard to see. This thing is super, super dark. We have a couple of like little coil elements and some builds for the poles that they use when they fall in the trash compactor. It has two elements, the door opening element where they can get into the elevator, as well as this in the front, which allows the trash compactor to close, which is pretty cool, so you can have a fun time playing with your characters there. You can also place your Dianoga inside. It is relatively big, but it fits, so I do like that they include that creature. I know in the remake they made him a lot smaller. We have this gun here, which is actually pretty cool. It rotates. This is a small little section, and it has a large Lego dart, which we just don't see very often anymore, so I'm really happy to get one of those. But other than that, we have a couple of guns, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of detail in that section. And the last part here, this is just like, I don't know if this is like a prep bay or something. We have the door to the elevator that you can see, and then this little yellow crane, which you can take off and move, and it can hold things like droids. We have two little barrels and then a platform here to go upstairs. That is done with the string method that Lego uses, and you can just twist it up and it'll go upstairs. You can take whatever character you want. So, yep. Pretty cool. Moving directly upstairs, so if you take that elevator lift, that's how we'll get there, just this extra one. So there are two lifts in this whole Death Star, which is actually pretty impressive. I like that. The fact that there's two ways to get between levels, it's really fun. Is the section for Darth Vader's TIE Advance. There is a platform where the little platform can raise, highlighted in white. We have some stickered pieces that have arrows, a couple of bins back there, some windows that lead into this area, and of course this crane moves. You can either move it with your hand. It both moves back and forth and also swivels, which is nice. And the control for that is actually upstairs under this little bed. It allows you to move it from the top, which is fun. I'm not 100% sure the structural integrity of this Technic system up here. It's just really weird. Like, I followed the instructions, but I just feel like it is wrong. I can tell that it puts pressure because of the weight of this TIE fighter, it puts pressure on the other end of the Technic pin. It's just really kind of weird, but there we are. That's that. I really like the TIE fighter itself, which you can remove, and it is in that small mini scale that we see like the Slave 1 built in for the Master Builder series. I would be curious if this is similar to the Darth Vader's Castle Darth Vader's TIE Advance, because that would be very interesting. The build seems similar, but I might have to pull that out and see. Okay, so for those that are curious, I did pull it down. They are actually really close. I was thinking they were going to be close, and I'm surprised at how close they are. Obviously, we do have more of a superior build with the Darth Vader's Castle TIE Advance, but they are relatively similar in scale. So just something to note. They've made a couple of design changes that I think are for the better, certainly. I wonder, I don't think this one can fit inside. Yeah, that's about as good as this other one can fit inside. It definitely is also heavier. There's more pieces to it. But I like that they're really similar scale. I don't know. My one complaint, though, too, with this area here for Darth Vader's TIE, I really wish it was just a standard TIE fighter. Just because, you know, you can use this elevator bay to have, like, stormtroopers and stuff come up, which would be cool, but it's really only Darth Vader that would use this, so I don't know. It's a cool ship, and I don't know if they could pull off a standard TIE fighter in this scale as well, but just something to note. I kind of would have wanted it to be a TIE fighter. Moving on into this next area, and it's a little difficult to see because we, of course, have the cannon here, but that's basically it. This is the cannon room. We have a couple of barrels again, and then this little secondary spot here where you can put characters. They have a little ladder to access. It is super hard to see, but there is a little knob that actually closes this door between Darth Vader's TIE Advance and the cannon room, which is kind of a fun function. I did also forget to mention that you can see the elevator from Darth Vader's TIE Fighter. The elevator does hit every single level. We'll take a look at that in a minute. But this is the relatively complex looking build for the Death Star cannon, which is actually pretty cool. It wasn't too hard. I like the build technique for it. I thought was very interesting. That's mostly literally all that you have here. You do have a small section to put characters on the side of it. And then you actually control it from the top. So I'll show you the top in just a second, but this is the controls. It allows you to change the angle upward or downward, and then of course you can go side to side just a little bit. It could have just been stationary and moved down. That would have been fun. In fact, it didn't have to move at all because I naturally want to keep it tilted up as high as possible to get the right looking angle. So there is that room. Moving on to the next room here, we have the torture chamber for Leia. You have the communication station in the center, and then there's just giant black build. It's kind of an eyesore, but it does do what it needs to do. On one side, you have the door that can lift up, so the interrogation droid can go in. On the other side, you have the trash compactor door, which does open, and the characters can fall directly into the trash compactor, which is fun. There's a hole down at the bottom for it. You have this light thing, and I personally don't recall what this is for. It does move all around, and it can go in the comm area, or it can hover over the prison cell. And so I thought it was just like an interrogation light. Not 100% sure. There is also a door on the back that can be removed so that you can have the ability to play in there if you need to. If you want to set up the "aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper" scene, you can't do that very well through the front, so they give you an option through the back. Moving around again, and this is the only Death Star 2 scene that we see really, and that is the Final Duel, and you can see Palpatine's throne. It's pretty standard. There's a little play feature here with this little section will fall, and then of course the holes to throw Palpatine in, which is always fun. A couple of little green cylinders here and some guardrails. This is not the most impressive Final Duel scene we've seen. We've gotten lots of different play sets and even an adult diorama scene, so this is really nothing to write home about, but they do include it, and I think that it's a necessity to include. You can also see the elevator as well. It looks fine. I mean, it's nothing to write home about. So that is the full top or center floor, which is the widest. Moving on to the very top here, and we have this droid repair room. which is kind of interesting. This is where you can control the TIE Fighter by lifting up this little droid bed. We have the Stormtrooper helmets, some tools, and then a desk with a light, as well as the control for the elevator, which is fun. It takes forever, but that is where the control is. On this other side, we have two little cannons, which are also fun to control. They're controlled from down below in the Emperor's throne room. You can move them side to side, and you can also individually change their trajectory on the sides of each. And it's very simple. There's not a lot in this section of the room, but I really like it. I think it looks nice. It's fun to play with. On the other side, we have I just call this the debate room. This is like the meeting room for the Imperials. There's 7 chairs. You get Darth Vader and Grand Admiral, or Grand Moff Tarkin to put in there. So hopefully you have some Imperials of your own, or this will be pretty bare. That's basically it. You can see the elevator come through here, and then you have some like little cylinders just for decoration. I do like that they include it, but it's not really that special. I just feel like in some sections of this Death Star, they ran out of ideas on what to do. So overall, though, I mean, it's a very, very audacious concept. I do like that. And then if you see me like going in here, I'm like fixing pieces. Since this is like brick and plate built, there's like some gaps in certain things that I see when I built it. I did have to take apart one section of it right here because I messed up the little lighted bricks. I got them, they were already pre-stickered, and there's a section where these little light shaft looking bricks are different on this side, and I messed it up, and I had to like pull apart the top of the Death Star, and I can tell it's not fully seated like it should be, but I can't really do anything about it. It's just something that bothers me that I notice as we go. And then the very last room that we have on the top is, like I said, what controls the the big laser, and it's controlled through this station. And then you have a secondary spinning station you can put a character on, or a trooper, or what have you. And then you also have this little section that shows Yavin 4, as well as Alderaan. You can just pull it down and flip that little scene around. And then, of course, you have the elevator, which you can access from the top. And I will say with the elevator, it is super duper hard to access. It is hard to fit your fingers through to get a character on. And the way that it is made is it just has the one center string to hold it in, and so putting a figure on it makes the elevator really wobbly, and it's just really, really difficult. So anyways, overall though, that is this Death Star. I hope that I covered it accurately enough, within a reasonable time frame. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Let me know what you think about this Death Star. I like it. They made a 2016 version which fixes a lot of things that aren't super great in this set. Like maybe build-wise, but overall, I personally don't think that they're different enough to get one and the other. I mean, it's usually you're going to do one or the other. And so this is the one that fell into my lap, so this is the one that I'll have. I probably won't pick up that 2016 one, but that one is superior technically in the building structure, as well as the minifigures are very, very updated. But it's a fun piece. I remember seeing this in my Lego store, and so I'm excited to have it now, and it's just as massive. It goes on my shelf back here, which is just absurd. It's so big. Anyways, guys, so let me know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Bye.